Don't eat your feelings.
Hey everyone, so welcome back to our podcast. Hopefully everyone is doing well. Y'all are doing fine. It's almost the end of Ramadan. It's almost the end of the whole circuit breaker, inshallah. So we have a few more podcasts coming your way. So that's what you have to look forward to. And thank you so much for the support that you've given us so far. And thank you so much for all the love. All of us, whoever that has been taking part in the podcast, and me and Abida included, are very thankful and very blessed for the support. And I hope that you enjoy what we have planned out for you in the coming weeks.
Yeah, we have much more things coming, and I'm really excited to have you guys see it. But last week, we spoke with Zubi and how she reconciled her sexuality and faith as a lesbian Muslim, and also her being like the daughter of Madrasah. But this week, we have Sufayraa, a fellow queer Muslim, and Sufayraa has spent most, if not all, of her religious lives in like religious environment. Like you said that you studied in madrasa, you volunteered, and you work at a few like religious institutions and whatnot. For safety reasons, we are keeping like Sufayraah's anonymous as requested. But yeah, like thank you so much for sitting down with us. How have you been?
Okay, firstly, thank you for having me on. Even with like all these demands, I'm such a diva, oh my god. But I've been good. So a lot of working from home and also dealing with exams. So like there's always something going on, and now there's this podcast. So my Ramadan has been very busy, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So I'm great.
That's cool, yeah. I've been so excited to talk to you because Abida has been the one who has been chatting with you.
Mm-hmm.
On this
yeah, I'm so excited to like talk to everyone.
Yeah. Okay, so before we actually get started, right, I just had an idea. I was just thinking like maybe you can explain to like I think there are some non-Muslims who also watch our podcast actually. And just maybe like explain to them like what is a madrasah, because I think for like some people they just think it's like Sunday classes, but there's also like the other aspect of it, right? Maybe you can just give a summary.
All right. So madrasa is basically just an Arabic word for school. But if we're talking about in the context of Singapore, we have full-time madrasas and we have weekend madrasas. So full-time madrasas are exactly like secular schools. We call government schools secular schools.
Yeah.
So they're exactly the same. We take our PSLE, O-levels, A-levels, but I would say that our subjects are more limited because of our limited resources. But yeah, so in full-time madrasa, exactly the same as normal schools, but we have additional subjects as well, like we study faith and Islamic law and tafsir, all of that stuff. And we also go to school covering our aura. So we usually it's either baju kurung or jubah. So if you like see those like girls at the MRT wearing jubah big with like big tudungs, most probably a madrasah student. Yeah, so in Singapore we have 6 full-time madrasas. Some of them are focused only on primary school, some of them only secondary, some of them only pre-U. I don't think only pre-U. It's either secondary and pre-U, or we have all 3 levels as well. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that's full-time madrasas. And then weekend madrasas are usually about maybe 3 to 4 hour long sessions, either at mosques or centers where people study Islam, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what a madrasah is.
Yeah, so you have been in the full-time madrasas, right?
Yes, I have been in the full-time madrasah system for 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Same. Wow. Can't believe I did that.
A lot of, like, compliments to you though, because on top of the normal, the secular subjects, you have all the other subjects which are added all together. That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of discipline.
It is. Honestly, I can't say much for myself because I like barely scrape through everything. But y'all, some of these madrasah students really be getting like all A's for their O-levels and A-levels. And I'm like, how? you're telling
Wild.
me you're going through religious trauma and also like and also acing your O levels. That's nuts. I don't know how you do it.
I don't know. That's amazing.
Wild.
It's amazing.
But
though.
yeah.
So like you were talking about like religious trauma and everything. I just want to know, like, when did you know that you were queer? Like, was it during your time of madrasah or before that or after that? Like, just when did you know?
Oh, okay. Well, I can't exactly pinpoint a specific time when I was like, oh, I'm bi. But because I think I probably knew it all along. But
Yeah.
I think knowing for me wasn't the issue because I always had that like lingering feeling. Oh, WhatsApp's noisy. Sorry, I'll just
No
switch
worries.
that off. Anyway, yeah. So I think knowing wasn't the issue for me. It was more of admitting to myself that I was bisexual and that I was also attracted to women. I was very much homophobic. I had a lot of internalized homophobia.
Yeah.
I love Islam so much and I love Allah so much. And naturally, I hated anything that went against Islam or Allah because I was a child and that was the extent of my faith. Like, what Allah like, I like. What Allah don't like, I don't like. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I was made to believe, or at least I was taught, that
Yep.
sex and homosexuality was something that wasn't discussed in Islam, and it was something that Allah didn't like. So naturally, I also hated it too.
Yeah.
But I had homosexual feelings, and because Islam hated that, I started hating myself. So I couldn't even admit that I was bisexual for so long because I couldn't admit that I would have one more reason to hate myself now. And like even worse, I just couldn't admit that the God and religion that I'm so devoted to and that I love so much would hate me for like this one aspect of my life. So admitting was just like it was insane for me. So I think I only could admit it to myself when I was in secondary 4 because I was introduced to a TV show called Glee. So it's
Glee. Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's Glee. And there's this character named Santana Lopez, and her whole same. She's so hot. Anyway, so her whole thing is that she wasn't even trying to figure out her sexuality because she already knew. It was also about admitting. And one of the things she said in season 2 is, I realize why I'm such a bitch all the time. I'm a bitch because I'm angry, and I'm angry because I have all of these feelings that I'm afraid of dealing with because I'm afraid of dealing with the consequences. And when she said that, like, I felt it, like, there was such a painful feeling in my heart, and like I could see how much turmoil she was like going through, how much like she just had so much internal conflict going on. And when that was just to admit that she was in love with another girl, and I felt like that was such a familiar feeling. So I felt very understood, and I felt like, oh shoot, I'm not the only one going through this. So that was when I could finally admit to myself that I was bi. But you know, admitting was just the beginning. Admitting didn't mean acceptance. So I think the acceptance was pretty much self-discovered. I didn't know anyone else who was bisexual or gay and also Muslim at the same time. Not on the internet, not in real life, because at that point of time, just nobody wanted to talk about it. So I was studying Islam like full-time in one hand, and at the same time, I was also exposed to Western culture, whatever that is. So I was exposed more to like the idea, or like just people who were telling their stories about coming out and whatnot. So I had to do a lot of like introspection and soul searching, and I had to like find a way to balance that out myself. So in the end, I came to the conclusion that my feelings are valid, my sexuality is valid. It is okay that I am attracted to women. But to me, and this is just to me, like Islam is a religion of discipline, and if the majority of scholars say that same-sex marriage is not halal yet, then I will not peruse. But this is only because this is my take in most things in Islam. Like I genuinely believe in our scholars and their knowledge of Islam. So if majority of scholars say cannot, then I don't do. But
Yeah. Right.
that doesn't mean I don't acknowledge that there are other credible scholars who say otherwise. Like example,
Fair.
for the hijab, we have majority saying we need to wear it, but we also have like quite a handful who says it's not wajib anymore. So yeah, so to me, that's just my understanding of Islam. And if people have any other beliefs which is, you know, credible and rational and supported by their own religious backings, then it's honestly not my problem. As long as they're not harming themselves or the rights of others, I will support their right to practice whatever they want to do safely. Yeah, so that was like in terms of religion, but I feel like also self-acceptance wasn't just me accepting the fact that I'm bisexual. It was also accepting the fact that I am a practicing Muslim. hijabi. Yeah, and I've been to a few LGBT Muslim support groups, and when I went there, the initial feeling was warmth because I remember thinking, oh my god, I have found my people.
Yeah.
Like these people understand my religious trauma and they are just as gay or as bisexual as I am. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my god. But I went to my first support group with two of my friends. They were allies. They weren't like part of the community. So we were dressed. I would say we were dressed like conservatively, like in loose jubah and loose dresses and hijabs covering our chest and everything. So as time went by, like in that session, I felt almost targeted because as some of the people in the community were speaking out about their religious trauma, I couldn't help but feel like they were looking at me like I didn't belong. Yeah. So I asked my friend if I was being too sensitive or something because I'm the more emotional one and she's the more rational one. And she said honestly she felt the same. She felt like as if they were imposing their religious trauma on us. So I felt a bit betrayed because for a place that advocated for being whoever you are and loving whoever you want to love and a place that denounced dehumanizing people, I felt demonized. I am extremely empathetic towards people who have been wronged by Muslims because I have had my own fair share of it. It is not fun, it is painful, but just because you had religious trauma by someone who looks like me, that doesn't mean you get to impose your religious trauma on me. Yeah. So I feel like when I was in Muslim circles, I didn't feel Muslim enough. When I was in LGBTQ plus circles, I feel like I'm not a real gay, whatever that is. Yeah. So that's because I choose to not act on my homosexuality and I dress more conservatively So at one point of time, I was just like, you know what, screw all of this. Like, if I compare myself to anyone's measures, like measure of faith or like gayness, and if I measure myself by their standards, I will never be enough. I am just me. I believe in what I want to believe, and I believe that I have my own rational, solid reasons why I like practice my faith the way I do. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can either come and talk to me, and we can discuss about this, progressively, or if you don't want, then you can just move on with your day because I have nothing to lose either way. Yeah, so that was when I could finally accept myself as a whole, like as a Muslim and as an LGBTQ person. Yay.
That's amazing. I can relate with a lot of what you just said, but in terms of the hijab, I think Abida can relate better. I'll let you talk about it, but I feel like I totally get where you're coming from in a sense where like people often like are so quick to criticize your beliefs and your faith, and it doesn't matter where you are. Like sometimes it's like the closest kin is the one who like tears you down, and then you're like, oh, just because I'm queer then God doesn't love me, and then just because I'm queer then I can't practice Islam. But that's not how I view God, right? You know what I'm saying? And it has been like I agree with your struggles, and for a period of time I felt so alone because like, okay, for me I never personally felt that being queer was wrong. That's just a personal thing. But as time goes by, like because I go to classes and because people view me the way like people see how I present myself, and then people comment, and then people tell my mom, and then my mom gets worried, so she comments and tells me, and then the whole thing, right? And then it slowly changes to a point where I'm like, oh shit, like maybe I shouldn't be queer or whatever, and then I just get so guilty, and then just whole spill. But yeah, like maybe you want Babes, you want to talk about how like you feel like with the hijab and all that.
No, I completely like empathize with how you feel, and the fact where I don't feel valid enough as a queer person because I wear the hijab. And I think a lot of my participation in queer communities have often been like overseas, because I was based in Melbourne, and it's always like so strange for them to see not just a Muslim person who identifies as queer, but also someone who wears the hijab. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to like religious like situations and conversations as well, like I don't know about you, but you know, my family is really religious, they're really conservative, and it's always feel like I can't ever like be a good Muslim because I'm queer. That's constantly the conversation around it. But I think one thing that really stuck to me was how you said that you actually went there with a friend who was an ally. And this has got me thinking, like, how did you actually start speaking or opening up about your sexuality with your friends, and how did they react? How did they wholeheartedly like accept it, or did it, you know, go through some waves and phases? Like, what was that like?
Oh, wow. Okay, honestly, when I was thinking about this last night, and I texted my friends. I was like, do you guys remember when I came out to you? And they were like, you know what? I think you've just always been gay. So like, we don't remember. And I'm like, wow, that really shows how much my friends don't care. But like in a good way. Like they don't give two craps about like my sexuality. Yeah, but I remember the first time I came out. I have a dear friend who was my classmate from primary 1 to sec 1, and then her parents sent her off to a tahfiz or a boarding school in Malaysia. Yeah, and I felt so sad because I loved her so much and I missed her, but we were still very, very close. She couldn't like even have a phone. Yeah, so I would only communicate with her like over like the weekends when her parents visited her. And I remember she was the first person I came out to. And when I told her, like, you know what, I'm bisexual, the first thing she said was like, oh my God, same. And I'm like, oh, thank God. I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh, thank God. Yeah. And she just accepted me for who I was. And I felt so relieved and loved and supported and not alone. And after that, I was just like a broken record player. I was just, hey, I'm bi, to like everyone I trusted. Yeah. But also, I feel like the way I told people was almost in like a nonchalant way. So because I didn't want to make it a big deal, because if I make it a big deal, they will be freaked out, you know?
Yeah.
So I just kind of told them like, I have a crush. And then they were like, oh, who? And I'm like, a person in class. And they were like, but we're in an all-girls school. So I'm like, yeah, figure it out.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Think about it, Sherlock.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. But my friends were like, okay. So I think, yeah, I don't know, like none of them really care that much anymore. And I'm honestly, I'm so lucky because I have so many friends from the Madrasah system, and all of them practice Islam very differently. So some of them wear like, you know, like in terms of if I just look at their physique, okay, some of them, they wear their tudung like super labo, super big. Some of them, they decided to open their tudung, whatever. So all of them practice Islam differently and on their own terms. And I'm so lucky that not one person has rejected me. Like not one person has came up to me and like, you know what you're doing is wrong. Yeah. So I feel so loved and so supported, and I'm extremely, extremely thankful that I have a very strong support system, like in terms of my friends. Yeah. So that was like coming out to my friends, and then there was coming out to the school.
To the school?
Wow.
Yeah, but okay, so this is the thing, like I don't know if this counts as coming out, but basically there was this like forum for graduates, right? So Sec 4 and Pre-U2 students who would be going into the secular world. Okay, secular. It's Singapore. What secular world? Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
And then never got NTUC or something. Oh my God. Anyway. So they made it as if we were like going for war, as if like our faith was going to be tested or something. So okay, and it was a bit funny to me because the forum was led by teachers who studied in madrasah for 12 years and then went to Islamic universities and then came back to teach in madrasahs.
So they got experience or not in the secular world? That's the question.
Exactly. So I'm like, well, I deeply respect their Islamic knowledge because
Yeah.
they've dedicated their whole lives to learning Islam. So I respect that. But it was a bit difficult for my friends and I to like take them seriously because this is not a field that they were used to. So needless to say, I was not focusing. I was on my phone the whole time.
Yeah.
And my classmates were all like asleep. And then suddenly like there was this one Sec 4 kid who like raised her hand and she was like, Ustazah, my friend just told me she's gay. How do I tell her that it's wrong in Islam? Yeah, my darah naik, man. Like I was so angry. I was like, dude,
wait, you texted your friend?
No. Like it was a forum, right? So like one of the student like they asked a question and then I was so angry. Yeah. And then I was waiting to see what the teacher would say.
Yeah.
And then thankfully she said, sorry, I don't know enough about this to answer, which is honestly a better answer than it's haram,
Yes,
100%.
definitely, yeah.
It's better to say that you don't know than pretend like you know. So
definitely.
And then I was so worked up. So I raised my hand and then I said, can I answer? And then the teachers were like super taken aback. So they just let me do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So from my seat, I said, like, your friend just told you she is gay. She is no different than who she was a few seconds before she told you she was gay. She is not telling you so that you can tell her she's going to hell. She trusted you with that secret,
Precisely.
and it is your job to keep that a secret and continue being a friend regardless of who she likes, because her sexuality is none of your business.
Right.
Yeah. So I said that, and then I think some kids clapped, which surprised the teachers.
Right.
And some kids were like shook because they also didn't believe in homosexuality.
Yeah.
And I was like shaking because I was so worked up and I was so nervous. And then when I looked back at my phone, oh no, like it's honestly the least I could do. But yeah, so I was looking at my phone, and then some of my juniors were like already texting me, and they were like, "Oh my god, Kat, thank you so much." And I'm like, oh my god, yeah. So I feel like, and then after that, like I started receiving more messages from my juniors and from friends about navigating through their sexuality. Which I think it really speaks about how important having allies are. So I didn't necessarily come out and say, oh, I'm bisexual, because I knew the teachers would like have sent me to, I don't know, Guantanamo Bay or something. But they would have like skinned me alive. But I think just having allies like really helped some of these kids. And I'm not trying to be like all self-righteous and like, oh, look at me, I helped so many people come out. No,
but it's 110% true though. So true.
No. Okay, sorry.
Really. And I think like what you did was like incredibly brave, like what Alex said. I don't think like it's amazing like, that you actually did that. And I think if I was there, like I would 100% feel like, yes, like go queen, like keep going.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, because the bulk of being brave, like for I mean the younger generation, right? The bulk of them, in order for them to be brave, like obviously someone before them has to be brave for them in order for them to feel like, yes, like I can be here, I can do this, right? And that's the thing, right? Which is why like I feel like we should talk about this more, because faith and sexuality is not something we talk about a lot, and and it's quite sad, because I feel like like all these people feel so alone, and it's unnecessary for them to feel alone, because just here 3 of us have similar experiences in terms of like trying to reconcile our faith and sexuality, and it's just 3 of us. And if it's just 3 of us, that means there are more people who are feeling this way, right? And if there are a lot of them feeling this way, there are a lot of people who feel alone. But with us having conversations like this, they like you watch Glee, right? You watch Glee. But if people find this podcast, for example, or anything that has anything to do with reconciling faith and sexuality, this will help them feel less alone now, which is exactly what you did. You stood up and then you said what you had to say, and people feel less alone, and it's so important. It could definitely change someone's life, because I swear if I was in that room and then someone stood up for me like that, as a queer person, I would be like, wow. Because I'm sorry, I just want to share one experience which I feel like is worth sharing here. I went for this big talk. It's a seminar at Expo or something, and there was this one scholar. He's from the States or something, and then this boy, he's not a boy lah. He's a early 20s probably, I guess. he went to the microphone because it's a Q&A part, right? You know how these sessions go. So there was a Q&A part. He went to the mic and he said, so he explained his experience. He said, so growing up, I was ostracized. Growing up, this happened, that happened. And then eventually I got kicked out of the house and I got disowned by my family. Then he paused. I think he was about to cry. And then he said, all this was because I'm gay. And then he like bawled and then he ran. He ran out of the seminar hall. The scholar stood up. He said, stop the boy, bring him to stage. So he brought the boy to stage and it's like, you know what Islam feels and thinks of the gay community? He put down his microphone and he hugged the boy. And in that moment, wow. I was beside my mom and I was like, I couldn't cry loud because I didn't want her to think that I could relate to being gay or whatever. But like I really teared so much because I was like, wow, like this is the first time I actually see like a scholar say something that was helpful to me, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just, this kind of experiences are, make you feel less alone.
Yeah, they're so important. And you know what? And this is like a terrible thing to say, but we're the lucky ones, you know? We're the ones who came out of all of this okay. I'm not saying that we don't face problems anymore now, but we're lucky enough to be comfortable with who we are because of what we have been exposed to. Like I was exposed to Glee and whatever, but some people, especially my empathy just really goes out for madrasah students because that's their whole world, you know. They are at home, they're surrounded by Muslims. At school, they're surrounded by Muslims, and that's pretty much their daily life. So they don't have the luxury of being exposed to anything different or anything that looked like them or like so I feel like it's so sad because how are we the lucky ones? We went through so much, but we're the lucky ones, you know. And there's other people who just are going through something similar and they are genuinely all alone. So I'm hoping that, you know, with the work that you guys are doing, you know, featuring queer Muslims, I'm hoping that more people can see this and they can hopefully use it as a means of like reconciling their faith and sexuality, because honestly it's just the worst feeling to like just not be wanted anywhere. So thank you for doing this. This is like really great.
Nice.
Yes, thank you for being here though. Like I think reaching out to like people and finding people who are just like us has been like an incredible experience as well, just knowing that we're not alone, that there are people out there who I guess share the same experiences like you said. And I think what you said is so true though, that like how, you know, despite everything that we've been through, like we're the lucky ones. And like it's, I don't know, like it's sad to say, but it's also like, I guess I don't want to like instill false hope, but it's also like if we can get to that point, so can other people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like that said, like how do you think we can then start having conversations about sexuality and faith within, you know, like queer, like within Muslim youth in general?
Well, okay, I think firstly it should definitely start with acknowledgement from allies, because right now we're at a point where people don't even want to acknowledge that that queer people exist in Muslim communities. So we need to definitely start with there. It's not safe for Muslim youth to come out and talk about their sexuality now without facing severe consequences. It's just not. No matter how much we want it to be, that's not the case yet. And I feel like if we can just have one influential, respected religious figure who can humanize the LGBTQ plus Muslims, that would be a great start. And right now we can't even hold discussions because our existence is not acknowledged. And no religious scholar wants to come out and say that LGBTQ people can still be Muslims. And I'm not even saying that these religious figures should advocate for same-sex marriage or halalkan gay sex or whatever. They don't have to do that. We just need to be acknowledged and humanized first, which is wild, by the way. How is this like the first step, like to humanize a person? But anyway, so I think we need to start with influential allies first, who will stand up for LGBTQ Muslims and acknowledge their existence and then humanize them. And then after that, we can move on to representation. We can have queer Muslims who practice Islam in so many different ways come out and talk about their experiences so that the youth can truly feel like they are not alone in their journey. Because I think when we talk about LGBTQ Muslims, straight cis Muslims think that we are all like free hair, we are all out having sex, kongkek here, there, like all don't pray, you know, and then like they pray like this, the ones they see in the news where they mix men and women, and the point is that Imam, we're all trying to reform Islam. I mean, of course we have LGBT Muslims who practice Islam that way. I personally don't agree with that, but I can understand and respect that they have their own religious backing to support what they do. But and we need to, as LGBTQ Muslims also, I feel like we need to understand that that just talking about LGBT is something very scary and difficult to accept for conservative and traditional Muslims, because it's going against what they have known to be right and wrong in Islam. So it is very scary for them. So they need to see other Muslims who look and dress and worship exactly like they do, but only with different sexual orientations. So from there, like, I think that really goes the extra mile of like humanizing LGBTQ Muslims. So, and then after that, we can like focus on our similarities instead of like talking about our differences all the time. I feel like if you want to talk about hukum, it's something that will never end. For something as basic as smoking, we still have so much hilaf. So what about something like conservative, something conservative pula, something controversial, like LGBT. Like, let's just not talk about hukum, because most people, they have their own religious backings as to why they choose what they want to do, you know. So let's just respect that. Instead of focusing on our differences, let's focus on how we can all strive to be good Muslims together through our similarities. So I feel like that's how we can kind of lead the conversation between Muslim youths about queerness. We start with acknowledgement that being queer and being Muslim is a possibility, and then we move on to representation so that both straight and LGBTQ Muslims can see and understand that both spirituality and sexuality like lies on a spectrum. And then after that, we, being Muslims, you know, we can look like so many different things, and being gay can also look like so many different things. So after that, we can talk about our understanding of religion and our practices together openly and have an intellectual discussion, and then we can focus on being good Muslims together. I feel like this is hopefully the best way that we can go about this, that can respect both both communities, like the straight Muslims and the LGBTQ Muslims. Yeah.
Wow. That's, can I suggest that you write a book?
Oh my god. I
Totally
hope so.
Yeah, because mashallah, that perspective is, it's nice. Like, I mean, I'm a like 25-year-old kid, and then I'm sitting here, I'm just listening. I'm like, wow, that's a really interesting perspective, because at the end of the day, it's like we should all strive to be together, moving forward together, right? Not like, you know, or some people move ahead and then, just because you view things differently, I'm going to leave you behind. But that's not the truth in what the religion teaches us anyway. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, I'm still like internalizing everything you said, because I'm just like still learning and just like But also like I think what you mentioned at first about how like acknowledging is so interesting, because like you're right, like many Muslim communities refuse to like even admit that like LGBTQ Muslims exist, and like it's literally like don't quote me on this, but like literally like it's been mentioned in the Quran. It's just whether or not people want to see it or not.
You know what, I actually also came out to one of my teachers in school, and she just could not fathom like whatever was coming out of my mouth. And this was like a conversation we had like over like I think 2-3 years now, and even after I graduated, we still like meet for lunch and then we talk. And like I think it was wild, because she just couldn't wrap her head around it. She was like, how can you be bisexual? Like it goes against fitrah. Like it goes against nature. Allah created men to like women and vice versa. So how can you like women? And I'm like, oh, and she kept on like asking me this question again and again. And I was like, oh my God, you know what? I'm done with like talking nicely. So now I'm like, teacher, I want to have sex with women the way you want to have sex with men. Okay, that's it. You keep saying that it is against human nature because God created men to like women and vice versa. But now I'm telling you that I like women and this is my nature. I am not forcing myself to like women. This just happened. So like, I don't know what to tell you. You can keep talking about fitrah. Your fitrah is you like men. My fitrah is I like both. Okay? So like, so I feel like, but even after that, I feel like she still couldn't understand. And I'm still trying to understand why she can't understand, because I feel like this might be the case with most straight Muslims. Like they just can't understand that people can be different, you know? So I don't know how to navigate through that.
I think because, okay, I don't know, but like this is my experience. It's like they feel like they are saving you, right? Because they feel like they need to save you. They have this major savior complex, like, oh no, tali, like all this haram. Like, but I have to save you because I'm on the right path. Like I'm on the right path. You're not on the right path, so I must bring you to the right path. You know, like I feel like these are all the interactions. Like everyone, like all of them have great intentions. Like we cannot doubt that, right? Because when they talk to us, they like very like the conversation, they so khusyuk, you know, like like you know based on this scholar and then this ayat in the Quran, they're like, you know, I'm doing this because I love you, and the tabi-sabi is the same thing. I do this because I love you, and I want you to be on the right path. But I'm like, okay, I am on the right path, I think.
As Lady Gaga said herself, I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. But
icon.
Yeah, in their heads, they have the great intention, but I don't know.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think that that they have ill intentions. I think they're exactly like us. They're just trying to navigate through their faith, and I feel like they also. I keep on saying they and us, like we're two different people, but no, we're all just trying to navigate through our faith. But I think we all should know that faith honestly just comes in many different forms, and people are not doing what they're doing because they don't know. How can people not know that being gay is quote unquote haram or whatever? We say it all the time. Of course they know. Like unless they're like living under a rock or something. Of course they know that perspective. But if people still choose to act otherwise, if people still choose to like pursue their homosexual relationships or whatever, then it's not because they're stupid, what? It's because they already have their own understanding of what it is. So we should just respect that they have a different view. That's it. Like you don't even have to agree. Your consent doesn't matter. So I feel like sorry, I'm like really frustrated. I don't even know.
No, we love this. We love this.
I get very worked up about all this. I just cannot understand why people cannot understand.
No, but that's one of my personal beliefs as well. Like my faith and my relationship with God, like my practice of Islam, it's me. And I'm not asking you to like 100% change your views, or like you said, like be okay with the fact that like with homosexual sex, like, I just want you to like be able to respect, and I guess at least allow some room for conversation and discussion as to how together as Muslims we can move forward and be better Muslims without having to create this like dichotomy of like what's right, what's wrong, and there's an us and there's an them. Yeah. And I think like with all the conversations around being on the right path and etc., like I don't know that you get this, but for me it's always people telling me like why like queer Muslims exist. It's because they kurang iman, and like I 100% don't think like that's true. And like literally like you're like a big example that like you can still be heavily involved in the religion and in religious institutions and still like be queer lah. Like I
mean, okay, in talking about, okay, firstly, I don't want to say that like I have a lot of iman or whatever, because oh my god, I wouldn't dare. But okay, you know what? Hold on, let me just think about this for a while.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, okay, I don't want to say that I have strong faith or whatever because I don't even know about my faith. You know, in fact, something that I would like to draw attention to, like, which is something that I learned in school, is the concept of iman yazid wa yanqus, which means faith increases and decreases. It is applicable to every human besides the prophet. So, if this is something that is understood in Islam, who are we to definitively talk about another person's faith as if it's something we can see? You know, only Allah knows how much faith a person has in him, and I think that it is incredibly ballsy if anyone thinks that they are knowledgeable enough to talk about another person's faith as if their knowledge of faith is on par with God's knowledge, you know. So um yeah, so I feel like I really love Islam so much, no matter how repelled I was by Islam because of the terrible displays that I saw. My heart just really yearned to be close to Allah. It took a lot of effort to get to a place where I could even acknowledge my religious trauma and like actively work on it. But essentially, all I did was like talk to my friend who I turned to for almost everything. And the thing that she told me was to unlearn and relearn. So I looked at the parts of Islam that I thought I liked and I didn't like, and I had to dissect it by one and remove the bias, and not just my teacher's bias. It's remove my own bias as well from it and look at everything objectively. And this is something that I'm still doing because there's really just so much bias attached to everything. So I'm just trying my damned best to like look at things objectively.
Yeah.
I think this whole kurang iman thing is honestly nonsense because um everybody will have a point of time where they have kurang iman. Everyone will have a point of time when they're at the peak of their faith. But sexuality doesn't change. Like sexuality won't change based on your faith. Sexuality is like a different thing,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kurang iman nonsense lah. Like whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just, like, you've already addressed that it's all of unlearning and relearning, and it's about having conversations with people that you trust the most, and like it's a lot, and like we're really thankful that you're here to like share with us the experience and, you know, like let us know your struggles and all of that. Like it's a lot to just put it out there, and we really appreciate that. And I don't want to assume that you're at a point where you're 100% happy, but I think for a lot of people, I think they will also would like to know, how would a journey towards self-acceptance look like, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this earlier also.
Yeah.
So I think my journey of self-acceptance was definitely a lot of unlearning and relearning because like I said, like there's so much bias attached to everything. I think we need to look at everything objectively, and I mean it's impossible to truly know what is on God's mind, whether he will accept us, whether he will not accept us, or whatever. So, and faith is a very, very personal thing. So, it really depends. I think everybody's journey towards self-acceptance is going to look different. But you should definitely, like, a good place to start is to be honest with yourself. Like, just address every part of your identity, whether it's your sexuality, your faith, your race, whatever. Just address, acknowledge those parts of you, and then it's going to be an uncomfortable process. So make sure when you're questioning yourself, you don't run away from what makes you uncomfortable. You have to grow. You will have to address the uncomfortable parts, or you need to know why you're uncomfortable. Why do you like one thing? Why do you not like one thing? Why is something making you happy? Why is something not making you happy? So it's just a lot of introspection and also learning from other people. Like, I genuinely don't think that I could have come to this point if I wasn't in a madrasah, and also if I didn't participate in LGBTQ plus Muslim support groups. So you need to hang out around people. You need to be open to you need to be open to listening to their experiences so that you can make sense of your own. Yeah, so it's just a lot of introspection and listening to other people so that things make sense for you. And then hopefully one day you'll reach a point of time where you can accept yourself for who you are and be comfortable in your skin. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I
mean,
think,
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
Yep.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because at certain stages of your life, you will feel afraid to like revisit like the Quran or anything, because you're so afraid that whatever you are will be in so much conflict with whatever you love, with this, which is the religion. And I mean, like what you said, right? You have to like slowly be brave enough to come back to it, to learn, to like dissect, and then surround yourself with people who have certain experiences. And then it's a good starting point for you to like reflect on yourself and your experiences. And eventually all these things will hopefully fall into place for you, and everyone does it differently, like you said also, like, yeah. So I mean, like, I'm just, yeah, I just how would you like advise queer Muslims, right, who are interested in taking part in religious institutions, like, for example, volunteering at the mosques or other things, like can be at other religious institutions, but they're afraid of being outed or scared of being discriminated, or, you know, just afraid in general that people will tell them that whatever they are is wrong, that kind of thing. Like, what's your advice?
Well, honestly, I'm still in that stage. Like, I'm still very much afraid of what will happen, because so much of my livelihood is centered around religion. And for now, people who practice who practice our religion, are not open to accepting who I am yet. So I feel like this is something I'm still struggling with. But one thing that really works for me is to just do whatever makes me comfortable. Like, if you want to be part of religious institutions, or if you want to come out or whatever, just do what makes you comfortable. Don't feel pressured to come out by anyone, and don't feel pressured to be in religious institutions that give you a lot of anxiety and pain. I feel like some people feel the need to come out because they feel like they're living dishonest lives if they're not honest with who they are. But that's not the case. Your sexuality is your own. If you don't want to come out, it's up to you. It's nobody's business. And at the same time, also, I feel like people feel pressured to always be active in religious institutions, which is great. If you want to do that, that's great. But don't feel pressured to do that because you feel like that's the best way to display, or like to practice your faith. And yeah, so just do whatever makes you comfortable. And then next would be to be careful. Like, your safety is so important. Only come out when you feel safe and respected. So, like, if you really know that that person will accept you and will not like skin you alive, you know. Yeah. So if you decide to come out to many people at once or something, then you might want to consider having an ally with you who can help you when times get tough, so you're not alone in facing everything. Yeah. And if you're already out and you're scared of being discriminated, then, you know, just take a deep breath and evaluate the situation to the best of your abilities. Think about what is the worst that can happen, and then think about what you can do to overcome those situations. And honestly, if things get overwhelming, just leave. You don't have to stay at a place where you don't feel safe. You can like leave and process your emotions and just come back to it when you feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, this isn't a situation we can change so quickly. We can't just make like all Muslims be accepting of the LGBTQ plus community overnight.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, on our end, we have to be the ones to compromise. But slowly things will get better if we are patient and if we keep trying. Realize that people are just afraid of what they don't know, and they are probably afraid of you when you come out because they have never met a gay person ever. So if you want, you can be the first person to show them that being queer and being Muslim, like, these two identities can coexist, and that sexuality is just a fragment of your entire identity. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think these are some things that you can keep in mind if you want to still be active in religious institutions, but also be true to your sexuality and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess so. Now, before we wrap things up,
Oh,
with like what's one verse from the Quran that you hold close to your heart?
I'm sorry. Sorry. Can you repeat that? You were like glitching.
Oh my. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
So basically, we just want to know like what's one verse from the Quran that you hold really close to your heart?
Oh, okay. So this one is a verse that I had to memorize in school, and ever since I like read the translation, I held onto it so tightly. It's Surah Al-Mulk, verse 13. So it says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, wa asirru qawlakum aw ijharu bih, inna Allah alimun bi dhati sudur. Um, which means and conceal your speech or publicize it. Indeed, he is all knowing of what is within the hearts of people. So I really hold this close to my heart because I feel like I am a very vocal person. If I feel like something is unjust, I would want to speak out about it. I speak out about a lot of things, um, about the LGBTQ community, um, about about influential religious figures, talking about problematic things, which happens a lot. And yeah, so, but I always feel so afraid to talk about these things because, again, like whole um my whole livelihood centers around religion. I am in their world, they control the Muslim community. So I feel like I'm almost constantly afraid of speaking out because of what will happen to me. So, but like when I heard this verse, like, and wasiru qawlakum, and conceal your words or publicize it. If you want to say, you say out loud. Like, don't like this is this is for me because I'm like an all or nothing person. But I'm totally fine if like other people like decide not to do it because again, it's lah. So, but for me, if I want to speak out about something, then I have to commit myself to going all the way. And and if I'm not ready to do that, then just shut up. Berani berani buat berani tanggung.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I'm afraid of the consequences of what will happen, or if I'm afraid that people will associate being vocal with like my faith, like if I go against certain religious teachers, then they would attribute that to having weak faith or not being a good Muslim and whatnot. Then it goes to the second part of the verse, which is Inna Allah alimun bi dhati sudur, like Allah knows what is in every heart. Like, so I know that if I am trying my best to do right by God, and if I am trying my best to be sincere, then Allah knows that. Allah knows my intentions when I myself don't know what my intentions are. So yeah, that's my favorite verse that helps me make a lot of decisions in life. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you guys? I think you guys asked Zubi last week also about what her favorite verse was, which is Surah Hujurat verse 13, right? Which is great. Yeah, what about you guys? I want to hear yours.
Go,
I was not
babes.
ready for this.
Sorry. I don't have to if you don't want to.
I do have a favorite verse. It's just I don't memorize it right now. But like,
No,
I love I love Walasar. Like that's I say it's my favorite all the time, but every time I have to explain why, I have to refer to it. Yeah. So I mean, babe, you can talk. But wait, hold on. I just want to talk about like what you say about intentions. I feel like I know she listens to me say this all the time because every time we do something and then we are so afraid of what's gonna happen after, and then I constantly say as long as like our intentions are we before we do anything, our intentions must be like set first. Because if not, then people's like orang cakap apa, like it's so easy for us to like okay, like to be affected. But I feel like if our intentions are set so strong and set at the beginning, like all we know is like everything we do is for the sake of Allah. Like what we're doing is for the sake of Allah. Then whatever people say, like it won't budge lah, because people will definitely say a lot of things. They got a lot of things to say. Like this, like, wow, this one you do the podcast, then you encourage Muslims to be gay. Apa sih want to encourage Muslims to be gay? If they are gay, they already.
Oh my god. Oh my god, yeah. Shoot.
Yeah, right. Like,
stupid.
yeah, but like as long as like our intentions are set right, inshallah, it'll be all. Yeah, but I like your hero verse.
Thank you.
Yeah, what about you? Do you have anything prepared?
I've none, nothing prepared. And I'm not about to speak on it because I'm not prepared at all.
Okay, it's fine. Sorry.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
We love this. We love it when you put a mirror in front of us. But all right, but like, thank you so much for your time and for bravely sharing your stories and experiences. I think it's so heartwarming to hear that, like, even though you've had your struggles, that you have friends and allies who back you up, and that's just really nice to hear now. Because I know people who don't have that sort of like support system, and those are really, really important to have. And we're so happy that, you know, you've gone through that whole process of self-acceptance, and now you are who you are, and you're so unapologetic, and we really admire this sort of energy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you so much for like the work that you're doing. Like, honestly, I have had some of my madrasah juniors who have seen like the previous podcasts, and they were like, oh my god, and they like resonated so much with it. So, and you know, I have like a soft spot for my juniors. Like, I just cannot see them like sad or anything.
Yeah.
So when they say that this podcast like really helps them, or like your work really helps them figure out whatever they're trying to figure out, that really just makes me feel so happy that there are more resources for them to turn to now. Yeah. So thank you for the work that you're doing. You're truly doing God's work.
Oh, thank you. I mean, thank you for it. Yeah, just okay.
Yeah. So I guess just to wrap things up, whoever's watching this, if you're keen to follow Sufayraa and her journey, feel free to follow her at Sufayraa. It will be somewhere around here in the description box. We're going to tag her as well, so just feel free to give her a follow. And if you've yet to follow us on Instagram or subscribe to our YouTube channel, like what are you doing? Like do that now.
What are you doing?
Like now.
It's quarantine. Don't step like you have other things to do. Oh my god.
Right. All right. Okay. So thank you so much once again for joining us.
All right, babe.
Okay.
Okay. I'll try.
3, 2, 1. Till next time.
Till next time. Skirt, skirt.
Yeah.
Totally out of sync.